This episode is brought to you by Grumpy Coffee. It's a specialty coffee, high quality, guys. Make sure to check it out. I'm telling you right now, the taste of our coffee is some of the best in the business. Head to grumpycoffee.com.au. Give it a try. We've got a kilo bags. We've got 250 grams. We've also got pods as well. Head to grumpycoffee.com.au and give Grumpy Coffee a try. Turn that frown upside down.
Just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. I'm here with the big fella, Maxi King. What's going on, bro?
Hey boys, thanks for having me on,
mate. I'm excited to have you on, mate. How's the off season been treating you?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been a bit quiet. We haven't really been doing much. Just spending a bit of time with the family. I had a son in the middle of the season, so the season can get a bit busy, you know. So it's sort of backlogged a bit. But yeah, getting to spend a bit of time with the family, which has been nice,
mate. A son in the middle of the season, like I had my son obviously about a year ago. And I can only imagine how tough that would be during a footy. Like there was I reckon in total, there might have been about 4 or 5 nights where I had to sleep in a different room just to be prepared for whatever work I had the next morning. But in footy, like if I was still playing footy, I reckon there'd be probably more nights where I would have had to, because we co-slept with my son.
Right.
I reckon there'd have to be, what was it like for you? It'd be tough.
To be honest, bro, not tough for me. Tough for my missus, I'd say. We'll see. What we've started doing is like the night. It doesn't matter if we're playing at Core Stadium. We stay the night at the hotel.
Yeah,
the night before. So that's been mad. Yeah, because I didn't have to sleep in a spare room or anything. And I think like when I said like it's like family time's backlogged, you sometimes forget how like selfish your job can be in terms of like it's in the middle of the season, so everything's about footy.
Yeah.
And it's like you have a son, it's like mad. Like, but also you got a game on this week.
Yeah.
You know, which sounds funny, but the sort of life that you live is so selfish because, you know, it's about everything's about my game on this weekend. The family are coming for my game, or this is my career, it's my dream. If Bulldogs sack me and I'm playing at Canberra or New Zealand, whatever, we're moving to New Zealand or Canberra or whatever because it's, you know, it's my job. So it's kind of been sort of backlogged, and it actually wasn't too bad for me, more so on the missus. You know, like we play in New Zealand, it's like we're gone for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, and then she's got it by herself, which would be
she's got by herself.
Tough.
We got 2 dogs and that, so it's kind of like just sort it out somehow kind of thing. So
does your family live close by any chance?
They do. They've stopped. They do stop in and help sometimes, but she's been great with it. So the off season, as I was saying off mic, it was like it's kind of like not my off season now. It's more so hers of like, right, what do you want to do? You know, spending family time and sort of catching up with it. But it's been great. I feel like I sort of know my son now. You know, if that makes sense. So it's been cool,
mate. It's those first few. It's so strange you go into a hospital and you walk out with a human being and it's with you forever now. Like, you know what I mean? You go in as a couple, as 2 people together, you walk out and you've got this baby. Now you're a family. You know, it's just a weird feeling.
It's wild, bro. And it's funny, man. Like I remember people tipping me up saying, bro, when you know when your son comes out, there's just a connection that you'll never have before. And I was the opposite. Like, when I first seen him, I was like, holy heck. It looked like an alien off Men in Black or something. Like, what the heck is that? It didn't feel like... And what I found is like anything, I guess, love grows. And, you know, like at the moment, you know, it's been so cool getting the sort of, like, its sort of personality comes out and that. But, bro, it is so weird. And, like, chicks are beasts. Like, the whole procedure of it, it's like,
Did you get the same feeling? Like, I felt sick going into my wife being pregnant because it made me sick. Think of her being hurt, being cut, or like her body being hurt. I don't know did you get the same feeling?
Well,
I felt so.
I did, and it's funny because it's our first baby. So again, like I don't have a connection with this child yet. He's not out or anything. And when my missus was given birth, we were super fortunate actually because it was on. Funny enough, we had a buy that week. And it was our big buy. Like we have 3 a year, right? And so we'll have like a training buy where we train like most of the week and we only get like 3 days off. This was our big one. So we got 6 days off. And bro, like, and you know what it's like, and your missus can pop any moment. And we're
Yeah.
playing in Brisbane, and I'm freaking out, like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
And you don't want to miss a game, but like, we already had the chat of, if I call, I'm out of there.
Yeah,
right? So I'm freaking out before the game, like, oh, like turn the phone off kind of thing. And bro, it ended up happening. So it was our bye. The first day of our bye, we had 6 days off. First day she went into labour.
No way.
So couldn't have worked out
Mate,
better.
your son's done you a favour there.
Yeah, I know.
He's
That's
taking
right.
care of the old man.
Yeah. And she had like emergency cesarean.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a sort of wave of emotions for me, as you were saying. Like, it's a bit scary, like her health, getting cut and everything. And I'm freaking out, and I'm kind of like, I don't even know this baby.
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
kind of like, sort my wife out.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like, not that you don't care about your baby, obviously you really do, but it's also like your priority is your wife's health. And then like now it's like, you know, you jump in front of a bullet, you know,
Yeah.
for your son. But yeah, it's such a wave of emotions.
Yeah, for sure. Like, because I kept thinking, just thinking of someone hurting my wife. It doesn't matter who it is. It just felt wrong. Like almost, how dare you hurt my wife? Even though that's not what no one's actually physically hurting her with a negative intent, but she's going through a painful experience. It was just a very bizarre experience. Okay, so yeah, you obviously have your son during this year, but for this whole season, you know, so you'd been at the Storm, you'd been at the Titans, but this off season, I'm assuming it would have been one of the most, from a footy perspective, content off seasons because of how well you did this year. Maybe not. What was it like ending a year on such a? I know you obviously lost in that final, but it'd been such a bloody good year for you. When you finish a year and you can go, you know, I had a good year this year. It's so different to, oh man, I had a bad year this year. I'm quite stressed about it.
Yeah, I think that's something that I think has helped through my career, just getting older and sort of maturing a bit of not freaking out, you know, with performances and like, you know, results. And because like, what's the use of playing bad or having bad performance and taking it into like Thursday, you know? So I think like, not that it's a complacency of oh sweet, kick the feet up and I'll gain 10 kilos in the off season and like, but it's if anything, it's probably more of encouragement of like I was saying, I was listening to Karaz and what he would podcast, great listen, and what he was saying about like the system, everything. It's just probably more of an encouragement of wow. There was loads of times we got it wrong, but there was loads of times that like it showed like we were doing it right and it showed how good it was for us. So if anything, it was probably just it's an encouragement for I'm keen to get into preseason and sort of get back to where we left off. Yeah,
I know what you mean, because he was talking about the first year. Obviously, it took a while to get used to the system, but it really did work this year. Like, it really worked, and an extra year on top of that, and you've obviously got a couple of recruits coming in. That is exciting for next year. It is exciting.
Yeah, it's I think one thing that I've probably used to roll my eyes at was like, oh, you know, like you hear about like a 5-year plans and all that stuff, right? But it's crazy how like things take years.
Yeah, they do.
And like, and the system probably isn't. It is super important, but like it's, you know, it's really important, you know, on the wings where it's like a, you know, they're getting up and it's a try-saving decision. Whereas in the middle, it's important, but like, you know, it's a lot of sort of 3-on-1, sort of 2-on-1 tackles, you know, like you're in the grid of the game.
Yeah.
And it's just wild to see how another year, another 12 months of just people knowing the system, getting better, like sort of refining it. Like Blake Wilson, like legend of Blake, don't throw him under a bus. The first 12 months, he was putrid. Like everything Ciro was speaking, like he'll say himself, right?
Yeah.
He actually did say himself. Like the first 12 months of like what Ciro was speaking, it was like, this guy is never going to get it.
Yeah.
And then like it's 12 months, it's a long time.
Yeah.
And then sort of we roll into this preseason that we just had, and he's better and he's getting it. And he's had a great year.
Yeah.
And it's exciting for next year, how, you know, and that's everyone. I felt the same way. It's everyone. So, you know, you talk about 5-year plans, but things do take a long time.
Yeah. I think what I like about the Bulldogs is that they made it very clear from the beginning that there's this plan in place, and we're going to follow these certain procedures. I think when I hear 5-year plans from a coach in the middle of a season instead of at the start of the season, that's when I go, are you talking about rebuilding now because you're not going that well? Whereas I think that this is very intentional from the Bulldogs. Like they've made like signing decisions where they could have probably got a big superstar on a big coin and said, you know what, no, we're going to get someone in younger and build him towards it in direct correlation with that plan, which I find exciting. When do you reckon this year you started to realise, we're on here? Because actually, you started the year, okay, it went 0-2, I think, or you lost the first game, I think, for sure. When do you reckon it really clicked? I outside looking in, it looked at around the time when kind of Sexton came in. Like your defence before was really good, but you struggled to score points. Sexton came in and it looked like you really started to be able to score some points. When did it click for you?
There was probably a couple moments, like towards, even at the start, we're 0-2 and we got rolled. Like we got rolled about Parramatta, we got rolled Parramatta round 1 and they were really good.
Yeah. And
then we got rolled Cronulla. And Cronulla are a great side. They've been a good side and, they've been top 4. So we knew they're going to go well. And I think they beat us like 26-6 or something. It was a flogging.
Yeah.
But it was 6-all for a long part of probably 50, 60 minutes. And we're sort of going toe-to-toe. And that was different to last year. Last year, we were getting rolled every week. And good sides. Sharks obviously have a reputation of flogging poor sides.
Yep.
And we did get flogged, but we
you're in it till
we were in it to the end, right? And I know that sounds cliche, and a lot of like you see it all the time. Teams go toe for toe and it's blowout, and it doesn't mean anything. Sometimes not.
Yeah.
But I felt like it meant something. I felt like we were like, oh, we would have got flogged by 40 last year.
Yeah.
So I could tell it was different. But I guess it's easy to say when the wins start racking up. But I think probably honestly the most was when we really went on that run. It was towards the sort of back end of the year, and it was like when we sort of solidified making the semi-finals, which is sort of hard to say that because I reckon if I think it was like I think we won like 6 out of 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
But I was injured but all but one of them. So I was kind of like, I was a bit like, is this team better without me? But it was cool because I remember when I did get injured, I was out for about 8 weeks just with a wrist fracture.
Yeah. And
there was a lot of talk of they're pushing for semis and forward pack and this, that, and the other. And that's just the sort of that's just like the straw that broke the camel's back. That they'll sort of implode these last couple of weeks. And they did the opposite. A couple of massive wins when the boys beat Brisbane and these massive games where it was like we're picked to lose and even the games we lost, we lost Cowboys at Cowboys and like we're really in it. So I thought that for me was, wow, we're doing something. We're making semis and like we can give semi-finals a nudge.
Yeah. Yeah, it was bloody good year because I'll be honest, like when you were beginning to go on that run, I was like, surely they're going to get tired soon or fatigue. And it's one of those situations where they're punching above their weight and then eventually it all catches up. What about, and I've been guilty of it too, people talking about the size of your forward pack. It was a big talking point of how different your forward pack was and if it went up against some of the bigger ones, could it handle it? And I think you did actually answer that question in the finals. But did you hear much of that chatter about the size of your forward pack quite a lot this year?
Yeah, you hear it. Like it's, I don't know, it's hard not to hear it. And they're right. Like it is small, but like I don't know. Like even like I don't know. I think about even there's times where I remember versing Harry Grant on Melbourne Storm, for example, and you think like 9 times out of 10 you get the ball and you're looking for the hooker to run at the hooker.
Yeah.
I remember like versing him, and it's like you're not running at him. He's actually running at you. Defensively, he's 3 or 4 meters ahead of the line speed, and it's like, isn't that advantage like pinning him out and running at him?
Yeah, okay.
It's like the way he and we have little blokes like when Reed's going at players defensively, like it's the same thing. It's like he's going at them. They're not, and little blokes like Bailey Hayward and that's, I guess, when they're playing to their strength of they have such good line speed and getting up, like it's like some of the line speed stats and everything. I think there was like one, it was like at one point in time and through the season, we were like number one for missed tackles, but also number one for, like defense kind of thing. So it was, and line speed is something, Ciro is really big about. So I think it was just about, for me, it's just about playing to your strength. What is your strength? If you're 80 kilos, okay, well, how is that, like, does it work? And like Bailey Hayward, for example, I remember when he'd come on, like I'd be like meters behind him in the line speed because he's getting up and he's getting ahead of it and he's sort of making first contact. And when blokes are doing stuff like that, I don't feel like it's an advantage pinning them out and sort of running at them. Yeah. If you're on the back foot and you've got a wind up and you're going straight at them, then it's a different story. But when you're getting off the line, you're sort of being aggressive and all those things, it works for you. And I felt like it sort of worked for us. Yeah.
So I guess you kind of feel that a lot of people would say, "Oh, we'll run at the dummy half because he's smaller than you are." However, as a forward, if that dummy half is 4 meters ahead of all the other guys, it's actually a disadvantage of you to run at him because he has more line speed and you're not at full speed yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. And so you guys really lent into the fact that, okay, some of us might be a little bit smaller, but what we'll do is we'll get crazy line speed, so we're actually taking away time for them to get up their speed and size to kind of roll over us. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. So
and as well, the game is getting quicker and
fitness matters a lot more.
Fitness matters a lot, and all that sort of. It helps, them doing all those nitty gritty, they do a shift, they're traveling over and into legs and all that stuff. And also you got to have the trademark of being tough, you're small and you're going to get pinged around a bit. So they had that. And like I said, it just worked. Kurt Moran's, another example of just good, here's another example of playing his strength. Just got good leg speed. He can bust tackles and that because of power. It's just, everyone has their own sort of thing. And it's just like, what do you bring the side, and is it better than is it good enough to make you earn your NRL spot, I guess.
I reckon we always talk about how not all missed tackles are equal, and if you're missing a tackle because you've shot up and let's say Reed Marnie, for example, he shoots up, he hits a big fella, stops the big fella's momentum and he falls off the tackle, but then you come across and dominate him in the tackle. That's a very different missed tackle to a guy that has no line speed, slips off a tackle and the guy bursts through the line.
For sure, yeah.
And that's what's interesting about the Bulldogs stat, how at one stage you had the most missed tackles, but you actually had the best defence in the competition because your line speed, it's much harder to make a tackle if your line speed's incredible. But at the same time, if you do just make any contact with line speed, you'll at least stop their momentum.
Yeah.
I'd love to, it'd be really interesting to sit down with Serraldo and really break down what his thought process is with his defensive systems, because I'm pretty sure he's responsible for Penrith and the Warriors' defensive systems. He came up with them. That's really interesting. Okay, so the finals rolls around. You guys have those last two games where you've just every hater's kind of hope comes true. Big forward packs win the battle, and everyone's saying, okay, the Bulldogs, the last two games have been found out. What are you thinking going into the week one of the finals? Because although you lost that game, you guys really did put in a good performance.
Yeah, it was. The last 2 weeks were obviously underwhelming. It kind of felt a bit like last year, a bit. I don't know why we sort of went backwards, but it was. And obviously one of those weeks was Manly. And speaking on our forward pack, I felt that, it's they're going to get dominated and this, that, and the other. And I thought that we did a really good job all season. There was only a handful of games that was wow, we did get dominated today.
Yeah.
And Manly was one of them.
Yeah.
It was round 26. We really did. So it was a bit of something to prove a bit of semi-finals. If there's something going to get found out, it's through semi-finals. So it was kind of are we legit or are we not?
Yeah.
And obviously we lost. But I think respectfully, I thought we were probably the better side, but they just handled the bigger moments better, and credit to them. Semi-finals is about big moments. And we actually spoke about that, it's about big moments, and just moments in the game. And I thought, if you look at the game, you probably thought, we probably were the better side, but there was just, 4 or 5 moments that resulted in tries, and that's the game.
Yeah. It's crazy. That finals footy, it's just a different beast,
For sure, yeah.
Mate, I didn't know this, but you're actually born in England. Huddersfield.
Palm, yeah.
Holy, so if you would play for England, if you like, how come you haven't played for England?
I kind of threw my hat in the ring. You know, it was World Cup time, and kind of got brushed. So I don't know, bro. My mum's a Palm, dad's Aussie, and they met when Dad was over there playing Super League. So I'm sort of 50-50. I'm kind of like, whoever wants me
can have me.
Free agent.
So did you make yourself available for England? They just weren't interested.
I mean, like England. We're just saying that they're a great side. Obviously, you know, we've just seen beating Samoa twice, and they're a great side. You know, they're full of some of the best NRL players. So they've always had real good cattle in the middle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I guess when it always helps probably, being over there playing in, people being able to see you week in, week out at the Super League.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's not dead, I guess. But like I said, mate, whoever wants me
can have me. It is because you have a parent that's Aussie, a parent that's English. It really is, I guess, it's almost similar to like a Samoan or a Tongan that has, a Polynesian background or a heritage. You want to be able to make your mum happy, but also you want to be able to make your dad proud as well. It's
I think either would be proud.
Yeah.
For either team. But like I said, I'm a free agent, so
I like it.
Below.
Mate, now we ask all the boys, this is a segment brought to you by Grumpy Coffee. I need to ask you, mate, what makes you grumpy and what turns your frown upside down?
Like in the off season or
just in general, what makes you grumpy?
I think recently, we're starting to get to the pointy end of off season. So, like you look at posts, some of the boys are going back, and it's like, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So, just getting back into training. I don't mind training, and I'm looking forward to going back with the boys and everything. But those startup sessions just to get to sort of go into a field. Just waking up on days where you're like, you have to go to a field, tick the legs over, do some whatever it is.
You're banged up.
Yeah, probably not a great thing. So I'd say that's
makes you grumpy.
Frown, yeah.
And what makes you happy? Turns your frown upside down.
Recently, what makes me happy? In the off season, bro, it's been great. I'm a big NFL guy.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so Monday mornings, bro, it's like a kid waking up with Christmas.
Really?
Like Red Zone.
Okay.
It's like 3 or 4 in the morning. I'm up.
Oh, really? So you're that diehard?
Bro, I'm diehard.
Oh, wow. Who's your team?
Whoever's my fantasy team's playing.
So you're more into fantasy?
I'm more into fantasy.
Okay.
Which is funny because, I don't play NRL fantasy, but I'm like, I know how it feels. It's like you're there filthy at someone because they're injured and you're like, you dog, you scored me 10 points this week, you dog, where it's like they're humans at the end of the day. We have a Bulldogs comp and this week is week 9. I'm 0-8. So,
what?
Yeah.
So you're terrible at it, but you love it.
I love it, bro. Love it. So I'm in a couple of comps. I'm in another comp with some of my mates I'm going really well at.
Okay.
Yeah, but love it, bro.
Who's winning the Bulldogs NFL fantasy comp?
There's a lot of staff in it, like physios and that. Birdo's in it. Kind of Tracy, Chris Patolo, or who else? I'm probably missing a couple, but they're all there, bro.
Yeah.
It's $100 buy-in, and I'm already mathematically eliminated.
Oh my god! How do you go 0-8? Like, how does that happen?
I think it'd be harder. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's just a couple of injuries. There's actually been an injury crisis at the minute.
So you've been smashed by an injury crisis.
I've been smashed. There's a game on today, actually, so I look like I'm going to get my first win today.
Oh, okay.
Relying on a couple of results. But, bro, I've been loving it. So first thing in the morning, like Monday mornings, 3 a.m., it's daylight savings, and that helps now, so it's a bit later. But, bro.
No way. That's crazy. So, take it back to, you're born in Huddersfield. Obviously, so your father's Aussie, your mother is English, but having your father play for the Huddersfield Giants, did you know as a young fella that he was a really good footy player, or was it just something that you kind of just was part of your life?
Oh, he always used to tell me. It's funny, bro. My old man, he'll be listening. He makes up so much rubbish. we got jerseys framed at home and that. Like my jerseys are at home, debut and that. He's got jerseys, back when he used to play. He's got a Huddersfield that when they won the grand final to get promoted to Super League.
Yeah, okay.
And on the plaque, it's got 80,000 there. Like plaques do, grand final, the score, this, that, and the other. His is David King, try scorer, this, that, and the other. Bro, I only realized a couple of years ago it was just all made up, on the plaque. They won it, but all the try scoring and that was a load of rubbish. But
so he just got the person to put on all the random stuff on it.
Yeah, so if you say, oh, did you know he was good? Yeah, he's told me a couple of times.
Oh my God.
But it's a rugby league family.
Yeah.
My pop played during the St. George era of 11 in a row.
Yep.
My great grandfather played, so it's proud. I was proud to play NRL and be that fourth generation to sort of play professionally. It's cool.
Yep.
And my young fella's a bit under the pump at the minute.
Wow. Doesn't want to break the streak.
Don't break the streak.
Holy, that's hilarious.
I'll have to pump out a couple and, hopefully someone continues it on. I'll be like a Hobawade. Just keep pumping them out.
Okay, so I guess at a young age, was there an expectation of you just love footy and you're going to play that forever, or did you just start playing it for fun?
I always had a dream to play professional, bro. Man, there wasn't much else. School was failing me, so didn't have the academics. My brother was the opposite. He's got the brains. And I just always loved it. So it was footy or nothing.
And so did you play footy over in England, and then when you moved to Australia around 7?
Not really. It starts a bit later there because obviously football is soccer.
Yeah.
So it starts a bit later. I think it's I can remember me being too young. And over there, it's it's freezing, bro. The grounds are rock hard. And you play an Oz tag till you're 15 because it's the ground is concrete kind of thing. So I just waited until we moved over, and then we moved over and I just sort of joined a local club.
Yep. So you moved over and you were Maitland? Is that where you...
Maitland, yeah. It's around Newcastle.
Yeah. And so did you immediately go into playing league straight away, or was
straight into it?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was probably 7 or 8, so straight into it. And bro, just always enjoyed it. And as a kid, you don't really know what you're playing. You're just happy to run around, whether it's soccer or whatever. And it was probably the age of like everyone else, around that sort of teenager where it's that's where sort of passion grew and the sort of, really wanted to turn it professional. And
so you made the New South Wales Combined Catholic College Rugby League team. What age was that?
That was under 18s.
Yeah, okay.
So there was a couple in that. Kyle Flanagan, Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary, Blake Brayley.
Yeah, wow.
I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple.
Yep.
But that was probably my first recognition of a rep side, I'd say. So that was cool. And it was probably those things are it's great to play in New South Wales, but the biggest thing for me was to sort of get an NRL gig. Yeah. So I feel from there it was it wasn't NRL, but an NRL club. Yeah. I signed with the Titans after that, under 20s, and sort of that just sort of helped me get into a system. So it was great to make that side. I was playing.
You were playing for SG Ballside for Knights then at that stage?
I was playing SG Ball at Knights. So I was a bit of a late developer.
Yeah.
I played Harold Matts at North Sydney Bears. I was playing hooker, actually.
No way.
It was me at the hooker. Wade Egan was at halfback.
No way.
Rando, the stats guy.
Yeah.
He was on the Sting.
No way.
Yeah. So there was a couple there. Bro, I was throwing dimes out of dummy half. And then just got too big and too slow. And I was just sort of ventured into front row.
Yep.
It's funny, bro. It'll be the same with my kid. You start at halfback and it's the more you don't make it, the more you just move in. It's like, righto, front row is the last choice. It's like, righto, he's a front rower.
He's a front rower.
So yeah, I just turned in that, and Knights was like that. Obviously, they're just a stronger team. So I was grateful I got to play at North Sydney Bears, and then sort of, which was my parents drove me like, from Newcastle to Sydney, which is probably 2.5 hours, probably like 4 times a week, up and back. It's a big commitment from them. So I'm always grateful for that. And then that helped me be a better football player. Just exposure of playing the best players at 16, and then sort of from there, just made Knights side, and then kind of got brushed and signed with Titans under 20s, and then from there sort of just came through first grade. Yeah,
wow. And so your parents driving like 2 hours up and back, so you're looking at more at 4 hours pretty much all up, maybe even longer, 5. I guess, was it, thinking of those times, them driving you back and forth, was it tough? So I just remember growing up when my dad used to drive me about an hour and a half up to soccer training. Like by the time he got back, because he would work in Brisbane, he would drive back to the Gold Coast to pick me up from home. Then he would drive back up to Brisbane, and just about an hour and a bit away from each other. I'd train, he'd sit in the car, and then he'd drive me home, and then he'd wake up the next morning at 4 a.m. and go back up to Brisbane. And he'd do that like 3 or 4 times a week. But by the time he got home, he was genuinely like stumbling through the door. He was that tired. Do you recall how hard your parents would work for you for that?
Yeah, and it's given me inspiration of now being a father. Like, what lengths would I go for my son? Because it's all good and well if it's like I'm driving you to an NRL club training, but I was at North Sydney, and like we were kind of like we didn't win many games that year. We got flogged a bit. It was kind of like this is my dream, and mum and dad are just sort of helping out. And it's a lot. Like, it's 4 times a week, like 4 or 5 hour turnaround. And they're giving up, shifts from work, sometimes doing it. And like, I remember driving, and traffic light went green, and we're just sort of staying there for 2 or 3 seconds. I'd turn, my old man's asleep, and just sort of waking up on the road. Like, it's a big commitment. Or they'd sleep while we're training or whatever. So it honestly did so much for my development as well. Like I said, playing, you're versing the best kids at 16, and just that sort of exposure.
But I mean, the commitment from your parents, it's like, for example, my father was driving me up to the Brisbane Roar, which was the best soccer club in the state. So there's a motivation there of like, my son is already one of the best soccer players in the state. Whereas like, and I say this respectfully, like, you're going to a team that's struggling against good teams. Like, so there's got to be even more commitment of like, it's not even like he's going down to the Penrith Panthers or the Roosters. It's going down to North Sydney, which struggle. Like, that's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was. It could have easily just said, sorry, mate, you missed out at Knights.
Yeah.
And it was like the rap sheet doesn't really seem like it, but I felt like just being a late developer. It just, like, it felt like a lot of that, So I feel like there was a lot of sort of resilience and perseverance. And and again, listening to Jacob Carraz's story situation of, he had, so many, and it's like, he loves telling people he didn't make it. Well, it's so cool it's funny, man. I when I was listening to Carraz's podcast, and he was explaining about how you don't need to make hard mats or whatever. I remember Gus Gould was telling me a story. They won. Look, it might be, the details might be slightly incorrect. He said their SG ball team won the comp in Penrith, and he said there was only about 5 of them from the SG ball squad that made the Jersey flag.
Wow.
Or the under 20s.
Yeah.
At the time, which is wild. Like, and I remember looking at, when I made the night side at SG Ball, I counted there were 6 of us in the squad that were there from Hal Mats. And I obviously wasn't one of them. There were 6 of them. So like, it's only 2 years difference. And there's 30 in a squad, only 6 of them make it to the thing. The drop-off rate is crazy. And I'm sure there's a million stories in the NRL of resilience, getting knocked back and this, that, and the other. It's just about like, there's blokes debuting at 27, 28, which is wild, So it's just like, there's so many great stories out there, and it's just like, you have the answer whether you're going to make it or not.
Yeah, it really is, because there is no set path. Everyone has a different journey to first grade, and also people develop differently. Like, and it could be someone's opinion that it's, someone's opinion at the Knights just said, okay, you're not a part of a side, but you could have got a different coach in that said, you know what, I love what you do. I'm really going to back you in. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I just a massive credit to your parents that they just kept supporting you, those long drives. I'm sure, oh man, I just imagine as a father myself. So at what point did the Titans come in though? And I guess that would have been a big day for you when, holy, like the Titans are interested, how good, all this hard work's been worth it.
Yeah. I had a good year. I had a good year in the 20s. It was a sort of more of a defining year for me because like I said, the CCC, the under 18, New South Wales side was the first sort of rep side that I'd made, and then from there sort of gave me exposure to Gold Coast. But I came to the Gold Coast and I was still like a bit of like, I haven't really tasted any success personally as a player of like, oh, he's a good player. I've never felt that. So that first year that I was at the Gold Coast playing on the 20s, I had a strong year that year. That was sort of my more of a breakout. Oh, this guy could be NRL potential kind of thing.
Yep.
And just had a strong year, and then I was lucky enough to get an NRL preseason, and then from there it's just like, just training hard. Neil Henry was the coach, so I think they just sort of. I was about 98 kilos ringing wet.
No way.
Yeah, I was like, I'm like 6'3", so like me at 98 kilos isn't a good size. It's just skinny, bro. So I was a bit like, it's great to be here full time and I'm loving it, but also I don't know if I don't think I'm ready for grade.
Yeah, okay.
And then it just happened, bro. Round 3, that followed the next year. So I got it.
So you had that good year in 20s.
Yeah.
And then the next year you made your debut.
Debut,
wow.
yeah.
So walk us through, they say, we want you as a part of the first grade preseason, because that's almost as big as the debut. It's such a huge step.
It is such a huge step. And I was working at Aldi at the time, not the car company, the shopping centre.
What was it? Aldi?
Aldi, yeah. So you know how like 20s, you got to be working or
Yeah.
studying or whatever.
Yeah.
So I started off as doing an electrical apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And bro, I'm the worst handyman ever. Sucked. And bro, we were traveling, like it was the Gold Coast. I was traveling up to Brisbane, and it's just hard work, man.
Yeah.
Like it was hard work. There was a moment there where it's funny, man, because I had to make a decision on it's safe, solid work. I could be I had the apprenticeship there, that was still a sponsor through the club, which I was grateful for. I was like, man, mad, I could have a Sparky apprenticeship. I've got a Sparky apprenticeship.
Yeah.
But bro, it was tough work.
Yeah.
Like it was proper tough work.
Yeah.
And
Long hours.
And like we're on like $12 an hour. So you're not really seeing much benefits money wise, but it was about the experience and
also it's not like not all office jobs, but it's not like some office jobs where there's a lot of like breaks. At least when I was working as a Sparky, it's if your phone's out, it's what's your phone doing out? Like you're getting a warning. Now, at least for me, you're working the whole time that you're at work.
You're working, bro, and it's like underlay. Like we're doing like underlay cables.
Yeah.
Of like it was just tough, and then we'd knock off and go to training, and I would be training like a busted ass, and I was always struggling with weight. So like I said, when I came to the grade, I was 98 kilos ringing wet. So I'm there trying to put weight on.
But you're working all day, burning all those calories.
Working all day, and I was just exhausted. So I was like, you know what? I moved to the Gold Coast because I want to chase my dream. I didn't really come here to be a Sparky.
Yeah.
So I pulled the pin, and I remember like a lot of blokes going, mate, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like not many people, like you're in under 20s, yeah, but like, the conversion rate to NRL isn't like, it's still not great. People die off, So, I was like, mate, I just want to chase the dream. So I gave it, I stopped, I quit, and then I started working at Aldi, like just checkout chick, just practicing my left to right passes just as a checkout.
Yeah.
And did that for a couple of months, cruisy, like in aircon, like sitting down. It was sweet, exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
And then so when they said, "Oh, you're going to be full time," I thought, "You beauty."
Yeah.
You don't have to go back to Aldi. Respectfully, I was like, "I don't think that's me." So yeah, it was more so like a weight off it. And like I said, I always want to do it. So it was like, it's great to debut, and that's probably the biggest moment of my career. But when you debut, you're like, I'm an NRL player. But when you turn full time, it's like, Now I'm living the dream.
Yeah, literally living the dream. And it makes you, having worked those jobs, Sparky and also at Aldi, it makes you realise how lucky you are to be training full time. When you like look at how tough a Sparky's life is, a Chippy or whoever it is. So that first preseason though, no matter how much you love it, it's still a shock to the system in the first grade. Was it a shock to the system for you? Or
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And like I said, you live in the dream and then you're like, oh, this is tough. Everyone's got hard, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone, you know, waking up being in the morning being Sparky's hard. We're so blessed. But after a couple of weeks, you're like, this is tough.
Yeah.
You know, so everyone's got you sort of like different
challenges and
that. And it was hard. And yeah, it was just, I just remember every day being hot, and I'm like a pacey dude, bro. And I was getting burnt every day, and I'm like, what do you blokes do? You know, and like all the sollies there are like, no, we're sweeters. You know, and I'm like, I'm getting burnt every day, and it's hot. You know, struggling to keep. I was fit. You know, but I was just like, it was like the physicality was a big one. Yeah,
for sure, especially in the middle.
Yeah,
and the intensity of like just going up against guys that are mostly 105, 110 kilos with their man strength.
Yeah.
Just a different beast. And so you must have done pretty well in that preseason, because obviously you made your debut the next year. When did you kind of get a sense at the Titans where you're like, oh, I'm actually not that far down in the pecking order?
It was a strange one, bro, because you know how like the first, you know, you usually do like 2 trials before the NRL game, and it's like first trial is like they'll bring like the 30-man squad. They might even get like blokes from like reserve grade clubs to sort of fill in or whatever.
You're still a mile, not a mile, but still a ways away from first grade.
So I played that, and then they had we versed New Zealand in New Zealand, and they brought like a 22-man squad, and I didn't go.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
So I was like, I'm way off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then bro, like couple of, like 1 or 2 injuries, and then round 3 came, and it's funny, Dale Copley was coming to the club.
No way, the great Dale Copley.
And there was like a process of like he couldn't get clearance from the NRL.
Yeah.
So it was like if he didn't play, Chris McQueen was going to centre, and then it would open up a bench spot, something like that along the line. So I'm like praying like, God, don't make Dale play. So and he didn't. So like I got the call up, bro, and it was mad.
And so do you remember the conversation for your debut?
I do. They gave me a call. I was just about to walk into the shopping centre, like Robina shopping centre there, and I was like, they gave me a call, and a couple of tears and that, and you know, called the parents and that, and mum was bawling and that. So it is cool, bro. It's always special.
What was it? I mean, you've fulfilled that kind of generational expectation of playing first grade. Was that did you feel any pressure with that, or they made sure not to make you feel pressure?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not at all. It was a dream of mine.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't say it was pressure, but it was like I was proud of myself.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I don't know. I was like, sweet. I'm sure you're the same. It's like, sweet, I can die now.
Yeah,
you're
like,
done it.
Done it. It's my whole everything I've been focusing on for 20 years or whatever. It's done. Okay, so what do you remember from the game, the debut game?
I remember my first carry, bro, was dream stuff. You know when someone just goes before, it's like quick play the ball.
Yeah.
Like it was just like dream stuff. Like I got it, and it was like the defense was still going backwards. Like it wasn't like they were lining up and jamming me. So, and we won. And that year there wasn't that many wins. We versed Parramatta. There wasn't that many wins. There wasn't that many wins that season. We versed Parramatta and we won. So that was cool. Yeah. Just so much adrenaline in that, bro. Like you're just buzzing. I remember like I was such a footy fan and like humble kid of like I remember playing the game and being like, that's Michael Jennings, you know, the centre, and that's this and that's that. It probably wasn't a great thing because I was like respecting everyone as like, man, they're the man.
Putting them up on like a pedestal.
Yes, and you're like, you're versing them. Yeah. And you're like, they're the man. Yeah. So it probably wasn't a great thing, but yeah, it was cool, man. You're like, idols become rivals kind of thing.
What do you reckon changed? Because like 2016, you win Player of the Year for the Holden Cup side, 20 side, and then the next year you win Rookie of the Year for the Titans. What do you reckon changed in those two? Because like the year before, I know you made the New South Wales side, but it just does seem like there was like a 3-year period where you went from okay footy player to a good footy player. What do you reckon kind of changed for you?
You know what, bro? Like, so I'm a Christian, and my faith is a big part of me, right? So my testimony is like I found God, like, and I'm not from a Christian household or family. Like we're not a Christian family.
Yep.
I found God through. I had it sounds funny, man, but I had like a Holy Spirit, like I felt like I had a God encounter, and God was coming to me and saying, you're going to play you're going to live out your dream, you're going to play professionally, and you're going to do it through me, through God. So from that, I just hung on to that. And I was like about 13 for that. And so I was a late developer and all these things, all these like ups and downs along the way, as everyone has.
Yeah.
And I just always held on to that. And I just always thought, nah, I feel like God's got a plan for me. I feel like I'm going to play NRL. And for me, like asking, oh, what do you think? I just felt like I was just like such a like mid, like everyone, when you're 16, obviously everyone gives you the percentage chats of there's only 0.5% of someone in this room that's going to play NRL and this, that, and the other. And it's so intimidating. You're like, oh, I'm never going to make it.
Yeah.
And I just felt like such a like a mid player, like every sort of age. And bro, in the space of about 18 months, I went from struggling to make an SG ball side to I debuted at 19. Like it was literally like 18 months of like, I just felt like favor of, I don't know. I just felt like everything coming and just all the stones aligned. And I don't know when that came down to, because it wasn't one skill or one thing or whatever. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Everything just aligned for me, and it just happened. You get like, as a footballer, you have the same prep, you're the same player, have the same prep, but like one game you kill it, and the other game you're like, oh, I had a shocker today. And it's like, why? You're like, well, I don't know. Yeah. You don't know. Like, so, don't know, bro. I just felt like the stars aligned, and it's like, it just happened for me. But then again, like you debut and you're like, this is mad. And then you're like, a year later, you're like, oh, there's still more. You know, I'm not really where I sort of want to be. I'm playing NRL. You get old with stuff quick, kind of thing. Sure. But I look back and I was like, I was this struggling kid. To 18 months later, you're playing NRL, and you're like, wow. Yeah. You know, you're 19, and everyone's like, oh, look at this young gun, kind of thing. You're like, I'm not a gun. Yeah. You know,
because your whole life, whereas if let's say you had grown up and been always told you're the gun, you almost kind of expect to be called the gun when you come into first grade. You say you're a very religious man. When did that? Because you say you didn't come from a religious family.
No.
When did that? What was the journey with that? How did that come about for you?
So it was just that, bro. Like it was. It sounds funny saying that, but I was just in my room chilling, and I felt like God say to me, as clear as that, you're going to play NRL. You're going to do it through. And bro, I was the opposite. I'm like, man, people believe this. Like I was as atheist as it gets. Like I'm not devil worshipper, but I'm just like so blank, you know, just
kind of like just didn't even consider it.
Nah. And I felt that, and like and from there I just sort of hung on to it. I was about 13, just hung on to it.
Did you go and seek out like learning more about the Christian faith, or how did that work?
Yeah, I started going to church at like 17, just a local church.
Was that off your own bat? Like you just
off my own bat?
So you went by yourself?
Yeah, it's funny. I always call myself a closet Christian because I was like, I didn't have any family or friends that's and everyone that I did meet, respectfully, anyone that I did meet who said I was a Christian, bro, they were strange. So I was like, oh, I don't want to be. I didn't put myself as anything. I'm not a Christian. I'm not all these things, but I felt like God spoke to me, and I feel like I have a relationship with God in that sense of I can pray to God. I feel like He spoke to me. I feel like He has a plan for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm not a Christian, and so I didn't really want to be known as that, and I didn't really want people to know that I believed in God.
Yeah.
So I started going to church. I didn't really want to, but I don't know. I just like had these convictions of my heart of like, and I just felt like this encouragement to go to church, meet other Christians, sort of grow, you know, in your journey. And so I started going to church. Wasn't telling any friends.
All the boys and
wasn't telling the boys.
Yeah.
Wasn't telling mum and dad. Like I was like, they're the best parents ever.
Yeah.
But I was just like
More of a you thing.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah.
And so I'd be like, I remember there was one stage where I'd be like, all right, I'm off to the gym.
Really?
And I'd be in gym kit, drive to the church, get changed in church kit, go to church, drive back. Oh, gym was mad. Then I'd actually go to the gym that day. Like, oh, you going twice today? Yeah, going twice.
It's like these kids, he's out there doing all these terrible, bad things. They find out that you've been like sneaking out to go to church.
Yeah.
You're the only bloke ever that can actually say the one meme of like, when the missus thinks you're out doing something bad, I'm actually reading the Bible. You're actually that guy.
Yeah. I'll screen record that bit next time she asks.
Okay, so you go to church and did it, because I'm not a religious person, but I also, having gone to Catholic school and everything like that, I understand to a degree, like, I guess the journey that people go on and finding out more about it. Did your faith grow just day on day that you went to church, or was it a slow thing? Was it a quick thing?
Yeah, I feel like it started as I really wasn't. I really wasn't a lover of God and all that stuff. But this is how funny it was. I felt like God's like give me tell me. So I sort of that I was going to play professional, and that was my dream. That's all I cared about in life.
Yeah.
So I sort of treated it as a business, like it was a business deal. It was like, right, okay, I'll go to church. You just like You got, I know what you're doing for me. I'll try and do my best for you. Like I'll try not to swear, when I can. I'll try and not act like a goose, you know, when I'm having a drink and this, that, and the other.
Yep.
So it was kind of like a business plan, a bit, a business deal.
Yeah.
And then the Gold Coast move was good for me because I found a good church. I was like sort of, I don't know. It was, when you like sort of move out and you're like, how am I going to do life? So it was sort of a good move for me. I found people that I was like, man, this guy's a cool dude, and he is a Christian.
Yeah. Okay.
And like I'm mates with him and this, that, and the other. So I was kind of like, just grew on my journey, and then that sort of business, that sort of that business deal turned into a relationship.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's kind of like the way I imagine it's kind of like a relationship with your dad, and it's like your dad can say, "Oh, son, whatever, don't go out tonight," and you're like, you can go out or you can not go out, but you kind of don't want to go out, for example, because you love your dad and you're like, no, I don't want to. Yeah, you can go out and you go out and your dad's still gonna love you and say, oh mate, why'd you go out? So I felt like I was on this journey of like doing it because like going out, not going out, going out, not going out, all these things. And it was sort of like a journey of sort of pruning and sort of, and it never stops, right? Like we're never perfect. Everyone's still sort of on their own journey with everything. So I'd just sort of say that was my journey to faith, and that was my sort of, I don't know, walk to where I am now. But along the way, like so much stuff has happened where it's like, oh, like I said, favor and blessing, but also like, wow, that's wild. Like, I was telling the boys at Melbourne, there was a time where I was at the Gold Coast and there was it was super undercover. Like I was off contract and Melbourne were interested, and I was like, Melbourne, this is 2019. So the year before they won it.
Yep.
But I was like, mad, like I'm keen to go, all these things. It was off, it was on, it was off, it was on. And then it was off. Just contract stuff, you know. I don't know what was happening. Something could have been happening on their end. They were trying to sign someone, not sign. I don't know, whatever. Yeah. And just crazy stuff, at church of like people coming, like I don't know. You get into that realm of, but it's like people coming up to you, like prophesying of, oh, just seen a vision. You sign at Melbourne Storm and all these things, all these like undeniable, like that's like supernatural stuff. It's just happen along the way where it's just like, I'm just sort of grateful that I'm sort of doing this job with it, with faith, because it's so hard. You play a bad game, it's like, ugh. Yeah. You suck, you're off contract, you're like, what am I doing? This, that, and the other. Play a great game, it's like, oh, I'm the man. But like, it just sort of levels you all out.
For sure. That faith in a higher being, that kind of has your back to a degree, gives you a lot of strength, I'd assume. Okay, so you go up to Gold Coast, and it sounds like, the off-field and on-field stuff mostly is all kind of coming together. You are 2018, round 9, you score your first NRL try, but you end up playing about 38 games for over the 2 seasons. So you have like pretty good 2 seasons for the Titans. Did you have any injuries at those period?
Yeah, I did. Just little things like little breaks in that. 2018, I missed half the year. I had a shoulder, Rico.
Yep.
And 2019 probably played. I started at Gold Coast, was sort of in and out of the side kind of thing, and then that's when all the moved to Melbourne.
So where did the Melbourne, because the Melbourne Storm don't knock on very many people's doors, and especially you're at the Titans, and I'm assuming the Titans probably struggling at the stage or not going that great. But the Melbourne Storm, how did that deal come about? Because as I said, they very rarely,
Yeah, I don't know. It just sort of sprouted. I guess they look for hard workers, and I don't know. They must have saw something in me that wasn't there. But I don't know. They just came and I didn't have a big price tag, so it's kind of like a bloke that I was willing to work hard, and I was like, I want to reach I want to reach my potential as a footballer, and I was like, going to the best club at the time, but it was funny because I was at Titans. We were coming last, and I wasn't playing for Titans. I was playing for Tweed Seagulls, reserve grade. So I was in the reserve grade side for the NRL team who was coming last. So I couldn't get picked in the NRL side who was coming last. Melbourne signed me and was playing every week. I was there for a while, reserve grade. When it got to the pointy end of the season, semi-finals and that was playing, it would have been the greatest story ever winning the comp. Because we got knocked out in the prelim against Roosters.
Yeah.
Who went on to win it.
Yeah.
Against Raiders. But it would have been the greatest story ever, going from literally reserve grade at Titans to winning the comp. But I love the Gold Coast. It's the best spot in the world. Love my time there. As I said, for my faith journey, it was a club that, I got to play NRL where probably, I wouldn't have probably wouldn't have got that opportunity at many other clubs. So I loved my time there, but I was just like, man, I don't, where they were at, I was just like, oh, I don't know. I don't know as a player. I'm not getting the most out of myself kind of thing. Okay. So, and Melbourne came, and obviously you see all these stories about they turn, they're turning nobody's in this superstars, and I was like, that can be me kind of thing. So it wasn't, but it was a good time while I was there.
So you get down there, 2020 though, you're in the side and you get suspended for a hip drop, I think against Blake Laurie, and you actually missed the opportunity to play in the grand final. What happened in that whole situation? Yeah,
so that year, so my time at Melbourne, I had a Achilles problem. It was wasn't tendonitis. It was called Hagelin syndrome. It was I had a spur at the end of my heel, and it was my Achilles was rubbing past the spur and caused this sort of inflammation. And it was just a difficult sort of one to sort of diagnose and what was the treatment about. It took ages. I was probably injured for probably 18 months there.
Yeah, okay.
So it probably ruined my time at Melbourne just because, it was just it was such a great club having so much success. I was like, man, I want to be a part of it. But the body was just busted.
Yeah, okay.
So that year, 2020, I probably played 4 or 5 games. And towards the back end, it was like, I'm come off contract. I'm like, I just got to try and run through this thing, dropping, any anti-inflammatory I could get, just dropping it, just trying to push through it, just smashing the guts, just to push through it, just to sort of earn myself another deal. I re-signed at Melbourne, but I probably played 4 or 5 games that year.
Yeah, okay.
And that last game was one of the 4 or 5 games that was okay. I remember being in the warm-up going, my foot is so sore right now.
Yeah, okay.
And I was like, can I pull out? And I sort of looked at Bells' face and I was like, I'm not pulling out. Yeah. And then I looked like my family in the crowd and I was like, I'm just going to push through it. And then when you're in a game, it's like adrenaline and that, but it was sore and it was busted.
Okay.
So, the hip drop happened, which, I mean, it wasn't a great look. Got suspended. So, but I wasn't going to play anyway. You know, those back end of the game seasons where it's like, oh, we're 3 points ahead of minor premiership. We're just going to rest a couple. It was kind of like that.
Oh, okay.
I was kind of like a feeling, but it makes for a good excuse. I say, I tell my kids, 2020 grand final would have been now suspended. I was suspended instead of unselected. So that's probably all it's good for.
Yeah. And so getting down to Melbourne, did you have to do the working for 2 weeks? Walk us through the process.
It was me and Nico Hines.
Yeah, wow.
Bro, it's putrid. It sucks. Like, honestly, the army camp was off its head. That is wild. But I'd probably rather do the army camp because the army camp goes for 3 days.
Yeah, you're in and you're out.
Whereas this is 2 weeks. It's putrid. Like, it's, you go to the gym at like 4 or 5 in the morning, then you do gym, go work all day, then you have to come back and you train, and you get home at like 9 o'clock for a 4 o'clock start the next day for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And like, oh, bro, it sucks.
But it works, doesn't it? It really does.
You know, you talk about like, it really makes you grateful.
Yeah.
It really does. But then the problem is, a year later, you completely forget and you're like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so tough, bro.
Yeah.
But like, you're like, yeah, bro, it's hard. I was with Nico, and we were actually blessed because our boss was pretty sweet. Like, we were doing concreting.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we heard that, we're like, oh boy. But they weren't too bad. I remember one day, we rock up and the boss comes over filthy. He's like, boys, I'm so embarrassed. I don't have any work for you today. You're just gonna have to go home. And me and Nico are like, it's all right, mate. We'll forgive you. So we worked out well because we had a better job. Like, some blokes were like mowing lawns all day. One of the boys was mowing lawns all day, and he said, like, and the thing is, you're getting whatever, 1 or 2 blokes for 2 weeks to work for free. It's like, oh, beauty. Yeah. Like, here's a mower and get started.
Yeah.
I remember one of the boys was mowing lawns for like 2 weeks, and he said, oh, listen, my lawn needs a mow. You reckon I could do it? He mowed his own lawn, and the boss billed him for it.
What?
Yeah. So, but it's you learn a lot from it, but bro, it's so bad.
Yeah, wow. Okay, what about the army camp? So what does that consist of? How does it all come about? Are you aware of it? What's the go?
So obviously it's got like a lot of like, you know, you are aware of it, you know. And they pick, like, it's whoever hasn't done it before. Well, it was when I was there. Whoever hasn't done it before, you know, you get selected. And there was 15 of us, and bro, it's just like, I remember the first, they give you a tip sheet on what to bring, and it's like all this sheet of what to bring: sleeping bag, pillow. And I remember Shandor Earl was like, bro, don't bother bringing it. You know, they just want your bag to be heavy. I was like, what am I sleeping in? And they're like, you won't be sleeping. I was like, it's 3 days. Oh, you gotta have some. He's like, mate, you won't be sleeping. And I was like, what? Bro, we didn't sleep for 3 days. Like, it is like,
so 2 nights, 3 days.
Nights, yeah. 2 nights. That last night, bro, it is like you're hallucinating so much.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. The last night was the hardest. We did like they call it like a silent march. It's just, it's probably like a 2 or 3K trek, like track. And you're not allowed to run. You have to walk it as quick as you can. Yeah. And they count how many laps you get. And you're not allowed to speak to anyone. Yeah. So there's 15 of us just walking this lap. As quick as you can, and whatever. You don't know what the time is, but you probably start at 7 and you literally finish at like 11. You're just walking laps like for hours.
As in 7 p.m., 11 p.m.?
7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Yes. Yep. This is at night time.
Yeah.
So you're just walking for hours. Don't know what time it is. You're just walking, and you're just like, this is like second night now, no sleep, and you've been rissoled and flogged. Yeah. And you're like proper wigging out. Like, you're walking past trees thinking it's the boys, and you're yelling out. And you're not allowed to speak to anyone on that. You're just like wigging. Yeah. And then when that finished at probably 11. They gave you whatever, protein shake. And then they said, righto, boys, follow us. And we walked about 10 minutes into the bush. And there was 15 of us. And every 100 meters, they'd drop, 100 or 200 meters, they'd drop someone off. And they'd be like, righto, whatever. You didn't have names. They wouldn't say Dina. They'd say, blue one, you stay here. Everyone else keep. So you're there just sitting in the whatever, just sitting in the forest. And they say you got to keep guard because people are running out in the middle of the night time. You have to say whatever, halt, who goes there or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were dropping everyone off. So you're sitting you're just standing there holding post for like by yourself.
Yeah.
They drop you off at like 11 and bro, they don't pick you up. They don't go around picking you up till like the sun's up. So it's like 6.
Yeah.
Bro, it's the whole night you're just standing there and you're like, I remember that like wigging. Like that, it was probably 6 or 7 hours and it felt like 30.
Yeah, because you'd be hallucinating.
Oh, everything, bro. Everything. So, yeah, man, it was like there's so many stories. You hear so many funny stories from it.
Yeah.
And like everyone's that rattled. There's super funny stuff happening, but no one thinks it's funny because you're like, just like rattled, like everything's normal.
Yeah.
Like I remember asking the boys about it and like, you know, that silent march.
Yeah.
Remember Cooper John's telling me just done it naked. Just took all his pants off because he was chafing. Just done the whole thing naked. And like, it's not even funny. You just look and it's just like, oh, play on. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. And he's not doing it to be funny. He's rattled.
Yes,
and
just
chafe.
like, oh, chafe. Yeah, it's just. So, but there was a million of those stories. There's a Jimmy Maloney one of you know, it was like what I was saying of going in the forest and the drop. Jimmy Maloney, they said he just fell asleep, and because the grass is quite long, he just fell asleep, and the bloke going around to pick him up, it missed him.
Oh, really?
So everyone was on the bus driving back, and they're like, "Hang on, are we missing someone?" Apparently, they had to go back there. This is like whatever. A couple of hours later, apparently they had to go back there and pick him up, and he was still asleep. What? I'm sure he could confirm the story better, but so you just hear a ton of stories, and you're like, man, that's so funny. And then when you get out there, like, I remember one of the boys lost 10 kilos, and like you come back a different bloke, 10 kilos, like literally before and after. It's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And there was one time when I was in camp with, he had a whole body cramp. He's there just going like, I thought he was having a seizure. And I'm like calling one of the blokes over. And they're like, what's wrong with him? I was like, oh. Then I ended up he was just having the whole body cramp. Wow. So it's just like there's a million stories. I'm sure Belzer would seen it all and do it. But it's a bit of like a, you know, what's this guy made of, you know? Because
I think it's a real, like, I know it's going to sound extreme, and I wouldn't expect everyone to do that intensity. But I do think if everyone, male and female, coming out of school could just do a 2 to 3 day army camp, again, not that intense, it does really show you how far you can push yourself. Like,
for sure, bro. Like even like sleep deprivation of like being a dad now.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, sweet. You got 3 or 4 hours. It actually doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because on the third day, you fall asleep drop of a hat. You sit down, you're asleep kind of thing. But if something high adrenaline, like on the third day, like, you know, you have that morning and they drop you off at like probably 12 or 1 o'clock. And it's actually really cool when they drop you off at training. You do like a guard of honor. All the staff, all the players, because obviously all the players have done it before. It's like a guard of honor. They're clapping you out. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Like it's like a real like, you know, I've sort of made it into the club moment.
Yeah, you're almost one of them now.
Yes, that's right. But yeah, it's funny. Before they drop you off, they were driving on the way to because we trained at Amy Park. They get there, they do a U-turn, they go back to, I think it was Crown Casino. So you start doing the stairs up and down like it's a bit of a dummy fake before you actually go back.
Try to get in your
but
head.
Yeah, you're on day 3 and like you fall asleep at the drop of a hat.
Yep.
But if you're in a high, like we did like boxing sparring on the last day. If you're in a high adrenaline boxing sparring, you're actually sweet. Yeah. Like you're just like, you're just as normal because your body's just going. Yeah. So it's so right, bro, when what you're saying about you don't see how far your body can go with that stuff.
Yeah, and also like I think, you know, people think that, oh, I'm not that tough, like I couldn't do that, but you'd be surprised how tough you are when you're forced to put yourself in that position. And also you'd be surprised how tough you think tough people actually break. It's not actually the ones you expect to turn up and do really well. Don't get me wrong, there's still your Dale Finucanes and that just eat it up. But like there are sometimes you're like, oh, I didn't actually realise this bloke, he's got ticker. Like,
well, bro, my dude of the camp was Branko Lee. He was the man.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
killed it.
I thought he killed it, bro. He was the man.
Yeah, that's mad.
Yeah, he's not known for his training.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. Okay, so you know your time comes to an end at the Melbourne Storm, and was it just more of a mutual like injuries just smashed you. They were kind of like, mate, like
Yeah, it was that like great people. It's like it was just a hard time. Like great club, great people, but it was just kind of like that. It was like, listen, mate, we love you, but you haven't done anything for 18 months, kind of thing. Like we just got to sort of move you on.
Yep.
So that's just the business kind of thing. So I was just kind of like freelancing a bit, like I was just like reaching out, is any club interested in that? And,
was it a manager or was it you reaching out?
Oh, my manager.
Yeah.
But there wasn't too much happening. It was quite quiet. And then there was a bit of a sniff from the Dogs. Like it was Trent Barrett and Phil Gould, Gus. And so there was a bit of a sniff there. And it's funny because I was at Melbourne and I was like, Foxy, because he just signed. And obviously, the Dogs haven't been going too well. So when Fox signed, it's like massive news. I'm like, bro, this guy's the king of Belmore. I rang him. I'm like, Fox, can you put in the good word for me? He's like, yeah, bro, I gotcha. I don't know if he did or not, but it worked. So I was still a bit like touch and go with the foot, with my Achilles. But just signed there. They sort of had showed a bit of faith. It's funny how it ended up because Trent Barrett was at Manly when I was in under 20s, and he was trying to sign me for Manly in under 20s.
Oh, okay.
And it just, it never happens. And then a couple of years down the track, it was like, he's sort of looking for someone to stay. And Baz sort of gave me the lifeline and Gus, and they were great. As soon as I got in there, they were like, mate, chill out, don't rush it. But also it was a bit like, it was sort of make or break that year of, am I done or am I, So, and we didn't go too well, but it felt like a sort of a resurrection of the career. And like I said, everything, it was really tough for me because 18 months out, I actually thought it was over. Like I've never done like an ACL or a knee, but I've had shoulders, and there's 6 months. And but the thing about like a 6 month is it heartbreaking? Yeah, sure. But it's kind of like every week you're getting better. You can see it getting better, this, that, and the other. My Achilles, I was just in an abyss of I don't think this thing's coming good.
Did you ever consider quitting, giving it away?
Yeah. I felt like it was sort of, I seen a couple blokes and it was pointed out to me of this won't come good.
So a couple of doctors said to you, this is not going to come good?
Yeah. Just seeing them independently, they're like, no, I don't really like it. But I was trying everything. Trying everything. So it was actually fortunate because when Storm rang me and said, listen, it was during one of the years of COVID and the bubbles and that. So I was just in Newcastle, same with my family. So I was I had 5 months. I had 5 months while the boys were playing. I just had 5 months off because I was out of the bubble.
Yeah, okay. And so was the doctors just saying, mate, we don't know what's wrong with this? It
was, I don't know, bro. It was just there was a million diagnoses, kind of thing. But end of the day, bro, my Achilles, it was that sore. It was, I couldn't walk, let alone run or anything. So then I seen a specialist. Again, I call it freelancing, but I was just chilling. I was just chilling at home all day, every day. So then I seen a bloke, and he was like, "Oh, mate, what we'll do is we'll go in." They shaved the spur off, and when they got in there, the Achilles with that it frayed up, it actually frayed kind of thing. So they stitched it together, and it was still a while healing process after that, and it was a bit it just sort of it took a while to get going, but it just worked out that Bulldogs gave me a lifeline and just sort of rehabbing it January, February, I was starting to sort of run on it. It was still painful, but it was starting to run, and then got back into training, and it was painful at training, and then the more and more work it got into it, the pain sort of died down less and less. And then towards the middle of that season, couldn't feel it at all. Yeah, so it was sweet. But again, tying into my faith of I felt like I had this purpose and God gave me this plan to play football. And I played a couple of years, man. Got the debut, played a couple of years, didn't go that well. Was playing 15, 20 minutes off the bench at Gold Coast. We weren't playing that well. Went to Melbourne, was busted the whole time. And I was people were saying, oh, righto, well, maybe think about hang up the boots. I was like, man, I haven't done anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, so I was kind of like, I feel like God's got more for, like, why would he send me on this journey for that?
Yeah. Okay.
I felt like I hadn't done anything. So for me, I felt like I couldn't see a light in the tunnel, but I felt like, it was there somewhere. So
Yeah, okay.
through my faith.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and it just worked out. And grateful for the sort of lifeline that the Dogs gave me. And
what took you so long to get the surgery? Is it because they just didn't know what to do there?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
just
wow.
different diagnoses and that.
Far out.
It's if you said hindsight, could have got this, like, because I was having that Achilles pain when I was at Gold Coast as well.
Wow.
Like, it's because it's a spur, so it's just the way your bones form. So, it's just formed that way. So but at Gold Coast it was sort of treated as tendonitis as well, and then at Melbourne it was tendonitis, and so it just took a while to diagnose it, and then all these opinions and everything. Like, you look at it and you're like, oh, did it need to take 2 years? 18 months, 2 years? No, but it was just a journey it was on, and it was just all the like sort of. I just didn't know what was going on with it. And people would look at it and go, mate, that's unrepairable. So I'm there rattled, walking around going, this is unrepairable. Yeah, this thing's busted. I'm like, I'm gonna have to give it up, and not only give it up, but I can't walk around to the shops, without my kind of thing. So I was like, man, this thing's. And you just don't know. I just had the opinion of like everything's healable and everything's sweet, I don't know. So that was hard. It was sort of hard more mentally than because as you said, you could have just got it healed and 6 months later I'd been sweet. Yeah. But it was just the journey of it that sucked.
And so this year you signed a longer term deal?
Yes, 3 years. So
what a relief. Far out.
Yeah, it's been a journey, and it's cool timing, because obviously love my time at the Bulldogs, and I always feel like, I wouldn't want to go to another club, just the faith that they showed in me and that. And, it's just, family now, and it's just sort of a bit more like.
Feel like you found your home, do you think?
Yeah. And 3 years, bro, 3 years is a long time, I wouldn't say I'm a journeyman, but 3 years is the longest thing I've ever signed. Yeah. So it's hard to wrap my head around it. It's a long time.
Did you have any interest from other clubs at all, or did you just go, nah, I want to get it done?
Well, not really. It didn't really get like that. I just wanted to sign at the Dogs, and it was so cool because, the year that we had, and I've been saying for a while now, like if Bulldogs was on the stock market, I'd be loading up, because it's we talk about like 5-year plans and everything. It's just like we weren't going to win a comp, this year, but it's like where we're building to. It's exciting. It's exciting.
Absolutely, mate. Ask all the boys his favorite. You a rap man? Favorite rapper of all time?
I am a rap guy. Oh man, that's a tough one. Maybe I don't know, man. Maybe just like an OG, like Eminem or something. Like, it's kind of hard because like his new stuff, like it's kind of skewed. But if it's like a one sesh where I'm locking in, like maybe like vintage Eminem's.
Okay, vintage Eminem. Favorite movie of all time?
Oh, favorite movie of all time. That's such a tough one, bro. I don't know, man. I don't know.
What's the first thing that came to mind when I said it?
The first thing I like, I like a bit of. I'm into history.
Okay.
I like history. So like, even like war movies, like Troy, Gladiator, those type of vibes. Love it, bro.
Yeah,
love it. So.
And you named your son Hercules?
Hercules,
so where did that come about? Walk us through that.
To be honest, I got it from a Uber Eats driver. Me and my missus ordered Uber Eats, and the guy was ethnic, or I'm assuming Greek or something. The dude's name was Hercules, and we're like, that's a cool name. But you know what, bro? It's a super funny story. Is like, I was like, oh, that's a cool name. We should name our son that, Hercules. Yeah. And my missus like, yeah, that's cool. Anyway. Gets pregnant, we're having a boy, so I'm like, let's call our son Hercules. She's like, yeah, sweet, let's actually do it. And then I'm like starting to like feel bad. I'm like, should I name my son Hercules? Like I was saying, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. For me, like Jesus is my God, right? Yeah. So I'm like, is this bad if I name like Hercules like a Greek, mythology,
Almost like
God.
demigod kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, is it like, because it wouldn't sound great if I named him Ra, the son, like the god of sun kind of thing. So I'm like, oh man, is this bad? So I was praying. So what's funny was, like, over that weekend I was praying about it, and I was like, oh, like, if this is bad, let me know.
Yeah.
Anyway, on Monday I came into training, and because it was still fresh, like my missus was only a couple of weeks pregnant, and I said to the boys, I'm having the kid, and everyone's like, oh, congrats and that. And Fox grabs me, Josh at Achilles, Fox grabs me, and he's like, bro, you know what you should do? If he comes out a boy, you should call him Hercules.
What?
And I was like, bro, what? And I was like,
that's insane, bro.
And I swear, and I was like, did I mention? I thought I must have mentioned it or something.
Yeah.
He's like, had no idea. And I was like, why would you even say that? He's like, oh, your surname's King, Hercules King. It just came to me, kind of thing. So it was so wild, bro. And I wasn't asking Fox, what should I name my kid? And even if I said, Fox, what should I name my kid? And he said, Josh. And I said, wow, I was going to name my kid Josh. You know, that would be crazy. But he's grabbed me and said, oh, you should name your kid Hercules. So I was like, oh, sweet, let's call him Hercules.
Hercules King is a strong name. Strong name. Holy.
It's funny, man, because we're like, you talk about like the football generation. He's under the pump, and he's got the name Hercules. So he's under the pump.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Mate, thanks so much for coming on, bro. I really appreciate it. And what a journey. Can't wait to watch you guys next year. That's for sure, bro.
Thanks, boys. I really appreciate you going on. It's an honor being here. So
Thank you, bro.
Appreciate having me on, man.